The movie begins with a car with a trailer attached to it parking by the side of a road. A woman opens the car door and throws a ball out. A cat named Thunder jumps out of the car and pursues the ball, but the woman shuts the door, and they drive away. Thunder tries pursuing them but narrowly escapes a series of accidents and lands beside a bench. A chihuahua sees him and asks why his owner kicked him out. Thunder says he doesn't know and asks if he can live with the chihuahua. The chihuahua's owner drags him away, and Thunder sees a cat at a distance. Thunder sees as the cat enters a beautiful compound and follows it, but a dog appears and pursues him. It chases him till they arrive at a scary house, and the dog gets scared and runs away. Thunder tries to enter the house, but the door is locked. He sees two birds fly through a window and decides to climb a tree. He jumps from the tree and narrowly makes it to the window. He enters the house and sees several items belonging to a magician. Some bugs move toward him, and he runs around as he is startled. He tears through a poster and sees a white mouse named Maggie, who runs away in fear. Thunder follows Maggie and tries to talk to her, but she keeps running and thinks he will eat her. He follows her down the stairs, and they meet Jack, a white rabbit. Jack says they don't allow strays in the house and kicks him out. It begins raining, and Thunder enters the house through the basement. He enters the living room and sees Lawrence, an old magician, talking to his magical items. He sees Jack and hides behind a plant. Lawrence tells the items a story about when he was a magician, and they hear a banging noise on the door. The items hide as Lawrence rushes to the door. He traps the intruder in a magic box but realizes it's Daniel, his nephew. Daniel informs Lawrence that he forgot to pay his utility bill, and Lawrence frees him from the box. Thunder saves Edison from being crushed, and Daniel begins sneezing. He says he is allergic to cats and suggests Lawrence sells the house as he steps out. Lawrence refuses, and Daniel says he can find a nice retirement home. Daniel leaves, and Lawrence returns to the living room. He sits on the couch with the items and falls asleep. Jack and Maggie see Thunder, and Jack pursues him. They run around, and Thunder pushes a ball on Lawrence, waking him up. Lawrence sees Jack holding Thunder and picks him up. He says Thunder is cute and Jack and Maggie get upset. He introduces Thunder to the items, and they sing and dance around the house. Lawrence prepares to go to bed and talks to Thunder. He eventually falls asleep, and Jack and Maggie walk to Thunder. Jack says he knows Thunder is pretending to be nice and threatens him. He says Thunder should leave the house before the next morning, or he'll be in trouble. The following day, Lawrence has breakfast, and the magical items enter a box. Jack sees Thunder eating from his bowl and rushes to him, but Lawrence picks him up and puts him in the box. Jack tells Thunder he will deal with him when he returns, and the box walks out of the house. Thunder follows Lawrence outside and convinces him to take him along. Lawrence arrives in a hospital and performs magic tricks for the kids. He uses a cloth to make a solid table and pulls out a magic hat. He makes the children laugh as he pulls a cat out of the hat instead of a rabbit. He pulls several handkerchiefs out of Thunder's mouth and introduces him as the new member of the family. Jack gets jealous because the kids think he is cute. While Lawrence rides home, Jack and Maggie decide to get rid of Thunder, and Jack kicks the box. Maggie gives him a pencil, and he tries to stab Thunder with it. Thunder distracts Lawrence while dodging the pencil, and Lawrence gets in an accident. A can hits Thunder, and he falls off the bike and passes out. Thunder wakes up and sees Chihuahua, who informs him that an ambulance took Lawrence to the hospital. Thunder feels bad, and Chihuahua cheers him up. He follows Thunder to his house and realizes he lives in the scary house. Lawrence sleeps in the hospital, and Jack realizes his leg is broken. He blames Thunder for their situation, and they hear someone entering the room. Daniel enters the room and talks to Lawrence. He tells Lawrence that he is too old to go around and perform magic shows. Daniel gives Lawrence a flyer for a retirement home and gets an idea as he leaves the room. Thunder returns to the house and informs them that Lawrence has been taken to the hospital. The items freeze and suddenly move toward Thunder like they are attacking him. They begin tickling and playing with him, and he says they'll look after the house until Lawrence returns. Dylan and Izzy, two kids in the hospital, enter Lawrence's room. They open his magic trunk, and Carlo and Carla, two lovebirds, fly out. Nurse Baxter enters the room, and Izzy accidentally tells her there are animals in the trunk. Baxter says the animals don't belong in the hospital and instructs the kids to return to their room. Carlo and Carla return to the house and inform Thunder and the others that Daniel wants to take care of the house. They realize they are in trouble and make a plan to stop Daniel. Meanwhile, Daniel enters Lawrence's ward and tricks him into signing a document that gives him control of the house. He returns to the house with the box, and a couple arrives to examine the house. Carla and Carlo fly out of the house and poop on the couple, causing them to leave in anger. Daniel places the box in the house and leaves as his allergies intensify. Thunder helps release Jack and Maggie from the box, and they tell the others that Thunder is to blame for Lawrence's condition. Jack and Maggie tell Thunder that Lawrence is angry and wants him to leave the house, but Thunder refuses to believe. He tells them they need him to save the house because Daniel is allergic to cats, and they lock him in a cage. Edison walks to Thunder's cage, and Thunder blames himself for Lawrence's situation. Edison plays the piano, and Thunder remembers how nice Lawrence was. He says Lawrence called him family and won't want to kick him out. The following day, Maggie talks to Jack and says they'll have to remove Thunder from the house. Jack says that Daniel can't stand Thunder's fur, and Daniel arrives. Mrs. Johnson, who is Chihuahua's owner, arrives at the house. The birds attempt to poop on them, but Daniel uses an umbrella to shield them. Jack says they'll have to use their second plan for Maggie to cause a rodent infestation. Mrs. Johnson enters the house and looks around as Chihuahua tries to leave. It moves around the house and eventually sees Thunder in a cage. Chihuahua says he doesn't want Mrs. Johnson to buy the house, and they agree to work together to stop her. Daniel walks around the house and sees Thunder and Chihuahua. He slips and falls off the bucket he stands on, and Chihuahua makes a noise as he tries to help Thunder leave the cage. Mrs. Johnson hears Chihuahua's scream and rushes to help but falls down the stairs. Chihuahua and Thunder run out of the room and try to leave the house, but Daniel appears. He thinks he has captured Thunder but removes the bucket and realizes it's Chihuahua. He bites Daniel, and Mrs. Johnson hits him with her bag and drives out of the compound. Jack congratulates Maggie for making Mrs. Johnson leave, and she takes the praise even though she doesn't deserve it. Thunder makes his way to the hospital and sees Lawrence with Izzy and Dylan. He enters the room, and Lawrence tells the kids that he was abandoned because he is too clean and well-behaved to be a stray cat. He notices that Thunder is scared of him and tells Thunder that the accident wasn't his fault. He informs Thunder that he has instructed Daniel to take care of them, and Thunder panics. Baxter enters the room, and Thunder hides behind the kids. Lawrence distracts her, and Thunder leaves the room. Maggie works out as she prepares to get rid of the next customer. Daniel walks around the house with a man, and his wife arrives. Daniel welcomes her, and Maggie tries to attack the man, but he thinks Maggie is cute and traps her in a glass bowl. They look around the house and realize they like it, and Daniel begins sneezing. He walks outside to receive fresh air while the man and his wife look around. The wife enters the kitchen and looks at the furniture. The blender suddenly comes on and pours the fluid on her. The magical items begin throwing various food items at her, eventually throwing her out of the kitchen. The woman and her husband rush out of the house and tell Daniel that the house is haunted. Daniel enters the house and calls a moving company to remove the items. Thunder frees Maggie from the bowl, and Jack arrives. Thunder tells them that he went to the hospital, and Lawrence isn't angry at him. Jack asks the items to attack Thunder, but they refuse, and Thunder says they'll have to work together to stop Daniel from getting rid of them. Jack and Maggie refuse, and they walk away. The moving crew, Mark and Mike, arrive and begin packing the furniture. They get separated, and Mike sees a Zoltar machine. The machine shows a picture of a falling sky, and a magical item throws a hammer at him. Mike blames Mark for the hammer and realizes that Zoltar is following him. The doors shut as he tries to run away, and the magical items begin their plan. Mike enters a room and is startled by a shadow. Gunther scares Mark while the items move Mark around the house and frighten him. Mike and Mark bump into each other at the staircase. Thunder dresses as a dragon and walks around them. Carlo and Carla light the fireworks attached to a dragon and startle the brothers. It pushes them out of the house, and they drive away. Daniel sees as they drive away and rushes to the house. Jack shoots a firework at Thunder, and he falls to the ground. Daniel pursues him but begins sneezing and leaves the house. He tells Thunder he is coming for him and leaves in anger. Meanwhile, Lawrence asks Baxter when he can leave, and she says he will leave when the doctor discharges him the next day. She tells him that Daniel has prepared a retirement home for him, and he refuses to live in a retirement home. Daniel arrives in the house in a protective suit, and Thunder rushes to him but realizes his allergies aren't acting up. Daniel shoots at Thunder, but he dodges and runs away. He pursues Thunder around the house while shooting him, and Jack realizes Daniel has lost his mind. They enter a storage room and eventually enter the attic. Daniel traps Thunder at a corner and shoots him but misses, and the bullet bounces on several objects. It cuts a rope and drops a chest on Thunder, making Daniel think he is dead. Daniel leaves the attic, but the magic items attack him. They push him to the ground, surround him, and throw him out of the house. Daniel sees a wrecking ball and decides to use it to destroy the house. Lawrence calls Daniel and realizes he has to leave the hospital immediately. He tries to leave the hospital, but Baxter refuses, and Dylan says he can help him get a ride to his house. Edison and the other items mourn Thunder, and Maggie and Jack arrive. Carlo and Carla fly to the window and instruct Maggie and the others to escape because Daniel is coming to destroy the house. Dylan and Izzy drive an ambulance as they take Lawrence to his house. Daniel arrives at the house with the wrecking ball and learns to control it. He begins destroying the house, and Thunder emerges from the box. A piece of wood falls, and Thunder saves Maggie from it. The magic items tell him that the trap door is blocked, and they leave through a hole in the wall. Lawrence and the kids arrive, and he talks to Daniel. He asks him to stop, and Daniel shows him his signed document. Carlo and Carla snatch the document from his hand, and Daniel sees that Thunder is still alive. Thunder jumps on the wrecking ball, and Daniel tries to remove him. Maggie tries helping him, but she falls into the engine, moves through it, and meets Daniel. He tries hitting her away and grabs her while Thunder makes his way into the control room and triggers Daniel's allergies. Daniel accidentally destroys his car, and Lawrence scolds him as Thunder stands on him. Lawrence says they have to send Daniel to the emergency room so he will recuperate and begin fixing the house. Maggie apologizes to Thunder for how she treated him, and he forgives her. Later, Lawrence performs magic for kids in his house, and Thunder talks to Chihuahua. Thunder, Jack, and Maggie get on the stage and perform magic tricks with Lawrence. Meanwhile, Daniel rings a doorbell, and a woman opens the door. She tells him she wants to sell her house and he enters inside. She shuts the door, and Daniel begins sneezing as several cats enter the house. The end. Thank you for watching. Check out these other videos and make sure to subscribe and tap the bell to be notified about our latest videos. See you next time.